employer retention credit is something big, and that's obviously what we want to talk about today. So can you kind of break down a little bit directly about what is the ERC program, who qualifies, and who's it really for?
Okay, so ERC stands for Employment Retention Credit, and the best way to explain it is that it was a credit that was given to an employer for retaining their employees during COVID. It's an excellent program because it gives you a credit, which by credit I mean a check, that will be mailed directly to the business owner for them to utilize as they please. One of the main things that I like to point out that a lot of people think they don't qualify is because a certain amount of employees. I deal with a lot of small business owners that have maybe 3 to 4 employees, and because of this massive marketing that's going on, they feel like they don't qualify, which is not true. They definitely do qualify. I'm going to do 3 facts right now. One of them is you don't have a minimum as long as the owners are not on payroll. The second thing, a lot of businesses, their revenue increased, but there was a lot of restrictions that they had to abide by to continue to be in business because of COVID. That's one of the reasons they qualify. There's over 2,000 reasons why a business, depending on the industry, would qualify. And I just want everybody who has a business and employees to really, in a sense, fight for their credit. These funds are running out, and it's money that is due to the business owner for paying out payroll taxes.
That's something key to mention. You said they are running out, so this is not forever.
No, the time frame the IRS gave a 3-year window for you to apply for the ERC, and the first credit was given on Q2 of 2020, which is March, April, May, and the end of the second quarter. That's when we can no longer qualify for a certain quarter. And as time passes, each quarter diminishes for you to qualify for.
Oh wow!
So it's important this is a time-sensitive program. Will not be on the table for a while. So it's really important for us to aggressively just let everybody know that they're entitled to this credit.
Now, you said we're talking about qualifications, who qualifies, who doesn't. I think a big myth out there where a lot of people are saying that, you got to have 5 employees. Right. What's the maximum or what's the minimum employees that somebody could qualify for?
Great question. So I've done the ERC for a business owner that had 1 employee.
Now, could that employee be the owner?
No.
So it has to be just one person on payroll?
Right. So there's the other, they can't be the owners or direct family members. And the reason, that's another thing that I like to talk about that I'm glad you brought up. So the reason why they are strict about family members is because they do not want a business owner to mysteriously all of a sudden have employees that happen to be family members. But in my opinion, if you've run a business for 20 years that is family owned, that have been working, it's worth fighting for, to push to get your credit. They're not exempt because they're family members, but the IRS needs to protect their funds from people that do take advantage of the system. And that's why it's really important to push to that. Yeah, you may have family members, but it's a possibility that we can qualify them if they've been there for a certain amount of time.
Now, because obviously I'm sure like tax professionals are understanding the benefits of this, right?
Right.
But I also want to ask, like, what types of forms, like, what do I need? Let's say I'm a business owner. I had 10 employees. I had 5 employees. I had 2 employees on payroll, and my business struggled, right? What do I need to prove, or what do I need to give to you or to us to qualify for something like this?
So the standard forms that we would require in order for us to do the credits, to do calculations, would be your quarterly payroll summary, or a form called DE9C. And your 941s. And the reason that we request these items is to do a breakdown of what was paid out to each individual employee. Also, we want to see your profit and loss. We want to see how COVID impacted your business. There's a lot of factors, but the basic form that we need are the quarterly reports or the DE9s. And obviously, we need to know who, if any, owners are on payroll, so we can exclude those salaries.
So if I got people on payroll, say I made actually more money during COVID, and I have 1099 employees, but I have some W-2 employees, am I going to be able to factor both of them?
We can only qualify the W-2. 1099 employees are not at the moment able to qualify for this particular program.
W-2 only?
Yes, W-2 only.
And even if I made more money, I could still show kind of way where I was affected by COVID?
Absolutely. Yes, there's a lot of qualifications, and I'll give an example. I helped a manufacturing company get a ERC. In fact, they got their check. It was over $500,000. They were extremely busy, but because the ports were shut down, they were not able to receive the raw material in order to finish their orders that they had. So they were affected by a different part of how they run their business. So that's a very vague example, but things like that. A restaurant.
How long is it taking a lot of these business owners to, I guess, from start to finish? Like, what does that process kind of look like in terms of like, you know, okay, I know I qualify. I did struggle during COVID. You know, I'm trying to put myself in the position of these business owners, right? Okay. You know, I get all the paperwork over to Armando or to myself or to yourself, and it's like, okay, do I qualify? Yes, you qualify, everything from start to finish. How long does that take to get that relief or that credit?
For the business owner to receive the check? So from my experience, the larger the amount, the longer it takes to receive. So anything under 100,000 takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months. Anything over 500,000 may take 3 to 6 months.
Is there a max on how much a business owner can receive?
It's not a max, but there is a max on the employees. The most I've done has been over 200 employees, but there is a max out for 2020 where it's 100, and for 21, I believe it's about 500. So wow. It is maxed out on how many employees that, but not the amount of money.
And this is something that's really big, because if you're thinking about, if you're a business owner that struggled during this time, you're like, hey, I could qualify for this ERC program. Now that gives you the opportunity to go out and potentially expand on your business. You could hire more staff. You could potentially open up a new office. You could invest into marketing. There's so many different ways that you can now use that money. And before we get into the using of the money and stuff like that, I think something that we always are trying to work on is a disclaimer, bro. So if you want to give a disclaimer out, just in case.
So full disclaimer, do your own research. Our content is intended for informational use only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any kind of investment. That's just a disclaimer out there, man. But
yeah, we definitely got to go off because now people are thinking like, you know, I got an extra 200 racks,
right?
Yeah.
Right, and now, you know, I could go ahead and expand on my business. Right. You know what I mean? Especially for like our Latino business owners.